So take a block, or if you have anything else, a pillow, a blanket, something that you can raise yourself up on to sit well. To sit well. Find any way to sit that you feel stable, feel the spine rising up from the hips. Let your shoulders just be relaxed. And let's take smooth, easy breath in. Inhale. Smooth and easy. Exhale. And again, inhale, smooth and easy. And exhale. Let's take the right hand over to the side, tent the fingers, and raise the left arm up, just straight up, and then a little bit over, slight tiny side bend. Inhale, exhale down, and switch to the other side. Inhale, easy, slight side bend, just waking up, just checking in. Exhale down. One more time, inhale up, exhale down. This time your inhale up, and exhale with a slight twist, just an easy twist without forcing anything, just waking up, seeing how it is this morning. Inhale up, and exhale, twist, just a slight easy twist.
Julie, I'm getting some feedback that your volume is a little low.
I'll see if I can fix that.
Yeah, it's much clearer when you're on the other camera. So I'm not sure if maybe your headphones got disconnected potentially.
Okay, does that help at all?
That sounds about the same, to be honest. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure what happened. I just turned the sound up. I'm gonna see if this will change anything.
Wherever you are right now is the microphone that the audio is coming out of. So it's much clearer wherever you are right now.
Okay, it's supposed to be in my AirPods. Gonna try it one more time. Okay, how about that?
Let's see when you're back on the mat.
Okay.
It's this. I apologize. It's the same. So maybe would you mind just speaking up?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Happy to. Yeah, thanks for letting me know.
My pleasure.
Okay. So, as we continue to arrive, let's take the hands and interlace your fingers and press out in front of you with a rounding of the upper back, and then take those arms up overhead. Allow your shoulders to relax down and take a slight side bend, and inhale back up. And once again to the other side, slight side bend. Feeling that stretch from the hip all the way up along the arm, and bring it back up. And rest your arms down. And let's go ahead and take a little bit of a cat-cow, get the back warmed up this morning. So keeping a nice curve in the low back, the sits bones are reaching high to the ceiling. Inhale, cow, exhale, cat, inhale, cow, exhale, cat, and then come to neutral, right in between, and start to slide the hips side to side. just waking them up, feeling that movement, side to side. They're just gliding so easy, side to side. And then let's begin to make a circle with the hips around to the back and coming forward, a full circle. Start to get the ribs engaged. And then take it the other direction, taking the weight back and forward. And if you need to keep weight off of your wrists for any reason, if you're feeling sensation there, just keep your body weight back over the legs a little more, a little less on the wrists. And come on back to a seat. Find your good seat again. Let me just share a little bit of Torah for our practice today. So this week's Parsha, Vayera, starts out, Vayera elav Adonai, and Adonai appeared to him, Be'elone Mamre, in the oak trees of Mamre. V'hu yoshev petach ha'ohel, and he was sitting by the tent flap, kachom hayom, in the heat of the day. So here we have Abraham sitting.
Julie, could you speak up? It's just very hard to hear you. I apologize.
Okay. I'm wondering if there's a way I can fix that. I'm going to try one more thing. Okay, does that help at all? How does that work?
That sounds better.
Okay, let's use that. I'm using a different microphone.
Yeah, that sounds much better.
Okay, great. So we have Abraham sitting at the opening of his tent. And Noam Elimelech teaches about this Parsha that God appears to Abraham in the oak trees of Mamre. And he starts saying, taking us back to creation. When God created the world, God covered everything and had to draw back a little tzimtzum to create space for the world to exist. And when God pulled God's self back, where did that energy go? Noam Elimelech asks. And he heard from his teacher, Dov Ber, the Maggid of Mezrich, that energy of God went into the letters of the Torah. It went into the letters of the Torah with which heaven and earth were created. So we have that. And now here is Abraham sitting at the opening of his tent. And Noam Elimelech says, the tzaddik who engages in Torah, in holiness, with no ulterior motives, can draw this energy of God into the letters of Torah. So that it is when we study Torah for its own sake, not as a means of gaining an end, but for its own sake, just like at the moment of creation, we can tap into that creative energy. We tap into that creative energy. And so Noam Elimelech brings that idea and says, God appeared to Abraham by the oak trees of Mamre. So the tree is Torah. The trees are Torah. And the branches, Noam Elimelech says, are mitzvot. So the verse teaches that the pure utterances that Abraham speaks in his studying of Torah, in the process of engaging in Torah, this draws the Holy One into the letters. This draws down some divine connection. So by the oak trees of Mamre means that it was in the tree, in that Torah, in the tree, that God appears to Abraham. And what was it that enabled Abraham's Torah study to make this vision, this appearance of God occur? They explained that it was really just great humility, that Abraham was basically studying with beginner's mind, that despite the fact that he was a great tzaddik, he humbly considered himself a beginner. Just at the entrance of the tent, the entrance of all that is holy, the entrance of creativity, he was just sitting at the entrance. And it was in the heat of the day where Noam Elimelech says, well, you know, there are people who appear humble, yet their humility is only a facade. And that this phrase, in the heat of the day, teaches that Abraham was honestly and wholeheartedly humble. To him, it was clear as day, clear as daylight, that he was just a beginner in service of the Holy One, in the Torah of his life. And what I'm hoping to bring to our practice today, the reason I bring this, is this sense of sitting at the opening of our own tents with a beginner's mind, with this idea, no matter what we know, what we think we've learned, the wisdom we've accumulated, can I come to this moment of practice as if it's the beginning, as if just that same curiosity. And when I do, can I then draw down that creative power, energy of the divine? So let's go ahead and sit at the entrance of our tent. Go ahead and come to all fours. And again, if your wrists, you have difficulty with the wrist, you can move your body weight back a little bit to take some weight off your wrists. You can also do any of these against a chair. So let's go ahead and come to a cat-cow again. Inhale and drop the belly and arch the chest, and exhale, round the back. Inhale, arch, exhale, round. One more time, inhale, arch, exhale, round. And then come to neutral and just feel the weight that is on your hands and wrists and on your knees, and see if you can adjust it so that it is balanced evenly between the front and the back. You might even rock forward and back just a little bit to find that balance. And then take your right leg back behind, tuck the toes under, and begin to float that right leg up. This may be something you've done a lot, but let's take it today as if we're at the opening of the tent and this has never happened. I'm just so curious. Be really curious about what is it like today, and take it down, pressing back with that heel. And then bring your weight a little bit forward and just let that leg float up. And take the left hand, reach it forward as long as it goes, and then till it finally comes up. And just notice that balancing. Maybe there's some wobbling, but notice the balancing, and you can bring it back down. And take the other side, take the left foot back, toes tucked under, and press the heel back, a little bit of a calf stretch. Now move your weight forward a little bit and allow that leg to just float up. And then take the right hand, slide it forward as long as it will go, and bring it up. Lengthening out both sides and just noticing where your balance is today. And bring the hand down and the knee down. Take it one more time on the right leg back, let it float up. Take your hand out long, bring it on up. Bring the hand down. Now, turn your right foot so that the inside of the foot, just spin it so that foot is on the ground. And go ahead and bring your hand up to the hip. Bring your arm up and then stretch it long over your head. Feel a stretch along the full side of the body. And bring the arm back onto the hip and rotate the upper body down, back to all fours. Take the other side, left foot back, left heel back. Lift and float the leg up. Reach the right hand forward. Make it as long as you can. And bring the hand down, bring the foot down. Now spin that foot so that the inside of the foot is on the floor. And rotate the upper body. Reach the arm up and over, keeping the hips back. And if you like, you can do it like a little baby back bend, or maybe a curl of the upper back. And then coming back to neutral. And then come back to all fours. And then take the hips around. And come back down. Take the right foot back. Let it float up. Left hand forward. Let it float up. Bring it down. And spin again. Bring the hand to the hip. This time, hand comes up over the head. And now, if it's available to you, notice what's supporting you, the hand and your knee. And if it's available, you can raise that back leg. And with a beginner's mind, just notice where the work is and where you can do less. And take it back down. And come to hands and knees again. Take the other side, left foot back. Let it float up. Right hand forward, stretch it long, let it float up. And bring it down and spin. Bring your hand to your hip, hand up. Stretch all the way, nice long side body. Notice now where your support is between the arm and the knee and the foot. And can you shift it so that the leg, your left leg, just floats up without changing anything else? Maybe take it down and up. Experiment with that beginner's mind. How can I do that without any extra work in my shoulders, any extra work in my neck and my jaw? One more time. And take it down. And come on back. And go ahead and take the hips around. Now try one more way. We'll add one more thing to this. Take the right foot back, press back on that heel, left hand forward, float the right leg, float the the left arm. Now take the hand back and place your toes down on the ground and feel the support in both hands and that back, the right long leg. And see if you can shift your weight, just play with this, to take all the weight off of your bent knee. Can you shift that and pick that knee up? Maybe even take it back to a plank, or even just feeling the weight shift. So play with that for a second, shifting the weight to hands, the two hands and the back leg. And see if you can take the weight off, maybe stretch it to a plank and take it down. And then spin like we have, hand on the hip. Raise the right arm up and over the head. Feel your balance between the hand, your supporting hand and knee, and see if you can raise that leg. And it doesn't have to go up high, it can just be an inch. Or it may just be moving the weight off of it, just feeling the weight come off of it. And take it down and come back. And now we'll do it again. We'll take the left leg back and feel the balance between the two hands and this long leg behind you. And shift the weight over to them, shift the weight away from your right knee, and see if you can just lift that knee. Maybe even just place it back for a plank. And take it down. And try it again. Can you shift the weight off of it and have the other three hold it? Just experiment. It may be hard. This is hard. It's not easy. But we approach it with that beginner's mind. What's it like today? And then go ahead and spin. Put the hand on the hip. Reach the hand up and over. Becoming really, really long, so long that that back leg is going to start to float up. Wherever you go, doesn't have to go very high. And place it back down, come back to cat-cow, and take the hips around. And take a moment to just notice the feeling of aliveness in the hips, in the arms, in the shoulders, in the feet. And tuck your toes under, taking your weight back. Keeping your knees nice and generously bent, just push up to a down dog stretch. And of course, you can be doing this on the chair. You can do your down dog stretch with the knees bent against the chair too. Now take your right leg forward and drop the left knee and get your blocks. Hands on either side. And we're going to do a gentle lunge forward, keeping a nice curve in the low back. And then take your hips back. You can keep your knee, you're going to move your leg towards straight. It doesn't need to be straight, but just towards straight, keeping the hips back. And you can flex that front foot. And we'll do that a few times, coming forward, taking the hips back, allowing the knee to be as straight or bent as it goes, but we're just moving towards straight. and again. So this is about taking up the right amount of space in your own practice. It's not about becoming a particular shape. It's not about the leg being straight or not straight, but an honest, curious, engaged exploration of what is there. That's sitting at the opening of our tent. And take it back one more time.
Call from name unavailable.
And I don't know why that's going, but hang on just a second. Keep.
Call from name unavailable.
And last time. And now let's switch. Take the blocks to the side, hands down, toes tucked under. And one more time, keeping the knees bent, push back into a downward dog stretch. And this time, take the left foot forward and drop the right knee. Get your blocks back on either side. And we'll take the hips back, bringing that leg towards straight, allowing the foot to flex up, and take it again forward. Hips back. Notice your inclination to want to make that leg straight. Maybe yours goes easily, or maybe not. And just allow that inclination to get into a particular shape. Allow that to just roll off and be really curious about what's actually here today. And just coming to the edge of sensation without pushing beyond. And go ahead and get rid of the blocks, hands down, bring that foot back, tuck the toes, and one more time, press back into a downward down dog stretch. And now bring the right foot forward and rotate the upper body, hand on hip, and bring your hand to your knee. And if you can grab your blocks again, we're going to just hold in this side angle and not change anything except bring your hand to your block. Everything stays the same. Everything stays the same. You feel weight distributed in both feet, and then just begin to straighten that bent knee. What's there? And bend it again. And straighten. And now notice again, where is your weight? Is it between both feet? Is it possible, just as an exploration, be really curious, is it possible to take your weight off of your hand? Can you take your weight off of your hand? And put it back. And take the left arm up. And we've come into triangle pose. And again, if you like, you can just explore. Can you take the weight off of that hand? Or not? And then take the arm, maybe, or not, over. Bring the arm back up. Bring it to your hip. Bend that knee. Bring your right hand to that thigh. And come on up. Inhale up. Exhale down. And come on back to hands and knees. Tuck the toes under. I'm actually going to turn to the other side. You can stay on the side you're at. I just think this will be easier for you to see me. Tuck your toes under and push back to a down dog stretch. And this time, take your left foot forward, spin the back leg, bring your right hand to your right hip, and come on up to your left thigh. Reach the right arm up, that shoulder comes up and over, if that's available. Hand on the hip is doing the whole thing. That is 100% of the work. And go ahead and if you can reach your block, maybe put on the higher level or medium level and reach down with your hands. So we're now supporting on this hand and both feet and begin to straighten into triangle pose. And bend it again. And straighten that left knee into triangle pose. Go ahead, take the right arm up if you like. Or you can keep it on the hip, either one. And now, notice where your weight is and see, is it possible to shift my weight, keeping my knees slightly bent? Can I take the weight off of that left hand? Can I balance? And put it back. Maybe with the arm up. Can I shift the weight without changing anything else? Just a slight shift. Can I just lift that up? And bring the hand back to the hip. Bend the knee. Bring the arm around. Warrior two. And come up. Inhale up. Exhale down. One more time. Inhale up. Exhale down. So we try a little bit more balancing as we come to the oaks of Mamre. You knew I was going to go here, right? We're going to go to tree. And the balancing that we've been working on, that shifting weight between hands, between two hands and one foot, and all of that, we're going to play with that now. And if you like, you can have a chair for support nearby or find yourself a wall. But let's have your feet parallel to each other, hips right above the feet with maybe, a fist distance between the 2 feet. And have the knees soft and begin to shift your weight over into the right foot. Keeping that leg long, just like when we had it out behind us, long. And shift that weight there and offload the weight from the left foot. Maybe pick up the heel, maybe come up to the toe. And then finally, can you just float it? Or not, feeling with that beginner's mind what's going on. Oh, and maybe you'll fall. And what happens if we fall? We just fall. We start over. So lift that up, either with your hand on a support or your hands on your hips, or a little bit of both. And just notice with that beginner's mind what is happening in your supporting leg. All of that is going on. All of the wisdom of the body that is moving back and forth and doing all this compensation to make sure you stay upright. And replace the foot. And now if you want to grab your support or not, take the left foot, turn it out, and bring that heel to the inside of the right calf. And this can be the tree. This can be it. But if you like, and if it's in your practice, you can raise that foot up to the calf. Or maybe with a support, you can bring it all the way up, whatever's in your practice. So practice, play with your own tree, feeling that supporting leg rooted down into the ground. And with beginner's mind that just doesn't need to get somewhere, but is just experimenting with whatever we find here. And if you feel a little stability, you might grow those branches. And that it's that beginner's mind, the humility of being at the opening of the tent that allows us to learn from each practice. And bring the hands down. I don't know about you, but today I need my support and I'm grabbing it. And go ahead and release the foot down. And soften the knees and inhale up. And exhale down. And we're going to try it on the other side. So begin to load weight into the left foot. And feel the strength and stability of that standing leg. Maybe even notice that your hip is aligned with the knee, is aligned with the ankle. And begin to offload weight from the right leg, coming up to the toe, beginning to just raise it, let it float up. Without changing anything else, just noticing the wobble and the work and the wisdom of that supporting leg that is making all the calculations necessary to keep you upright. Or not, and then we start over again. And now take that right leg, turn it out, turn the hip out, and you can start by just putting your heel up against the left leg. You can even stay on your toe there, this kickstand. And that's it. That's the full pose. From here, you can grow your branches. Or you might want to do this again with some support. A wall or the chair. And still, maybe one branch. And if you want to experiment more, go ahead and take that foot up. Or even up above the knee. Just exploring. And if you're really exploring, you like me are probably have fallen at least once. That's good. And we get right back up and explore. And go ahead and grow your branches. Without needing it to get anywhere, put your full self in. Full exploration, investigation. Notice the wisdom of that supporting leg. And bring the hands down. And go ahead and release the leg. And I'm going to move my chair out of the way. And bend the knees softly. Inhale up. Exhale. And you can bow forward on your chair, on your blocks, or to the ground. And then come on down. Come on to your back. And feel your tree now on the ground. Maybe have your hands over your head. Allow those branches to grow. And stretching out one heel and then the other heel. Feeling that growth of the tree. And just noticing, really dropping into the body and noticing that feeling of aliveness, of true curiosity. And then go ahead and place your feet on the floor. Bring your right knee into your chest. And take the knee and just stir it around a little bit. Place it down. Take your left knee into your chest. And then take that knee and just stir it around in the hip. And place it down. And go ahead and gather anything that is going to be helpful for you for Shavasana, for our final resting pose. Maybe if you have a blanket under your knees, or you can just roll up your mat and put that under your knees. That also works. And go ahead and allow the floor to support you. Beginning to feel the resonance of all the work that we've done. Not with expectation, but with investigation. What's here today? Sitting at the opening of your tent by the oaks of Mamre in the clear light of day. You can release your hands down. Just allow your body to rest, get heavy, feel supported. And with the next breath, begin to feel your fingers and toes. Maybe wiggle them a little bit. And place your right foot on the floor and your left foot on the floor. And roll over to your side, cradling your head on your upper arm, leaning forward with that upper arm end, pressing yourself up. And if you have blocks handy, you may want to find them, or sitting on something. Find that good supported seat back where we started. Take an easy inhale up, exhale down. If you like, place your hands on your heart or hands together, thumbs against your sternum. Just notice that sensation of sitting at that tent, the opening of your tent. Thank you so much for your presence and your practice. Namaste. I'm going to move on up and switch to this camera and be happy to answer any questions that I can. Oh, there's a good question. How did Abraham study Torah when Torah had not yet been given by God through Moses? Yeah, great question. So I'm going to give you a couple answers, and maybe one of them will be satisfying. One of the answers is there is no time in Torah. There is no before and after in Torah. That is a rabbinic answer. That may or may not be satisfying for you. What works for me and makes it feel real in my own life is that the Torah that I learned is really Torah from my life. Yes, from the scriptures, and yes, this idea of God writing God's self into the letters of the Torah. Yes, I look to that. That's like the tree of knowledge of good and evil, that kind of learning. But there's also the tree of life, the tree of my experience of actually just coming flush with my life and learning from that. And I think that that is the kind of experience that this verse about Abraham is sharing. So Mona, you have your hand up.
Oh, yes. I have a question also about the teaching.
Yeah.
You mentioned that not to go into Torah study or not to have any idea of getting a result. Okay.
Right.
And so my question to you, which is really subtle, and I understand being present to whatever is presented to you, but the motivation that makes you want to go to Torah study, isn't that seeking a result to learn in its own indirect way and to grow? So I know it's not what you want. You shouldn't be looking for it. But the thing is, what gets you there is the motivation. And what's the behind the motivation is that there is some interest in learning, some interest in growing. So there is a result that you're looking for in an indirect way.
Yes, and so very well stated, and I'm glad that you brought up that very refined way of looking at it. So the point that, as I understand it, is to not look for a particular outcome. Like in the yoga, I'm not looking to be in a particular tree shape. Like my tree may be with my foot on the ground. That I don't have to get into the shape, that it is that openness to what I'm experiencing. And with Torah, it's not like I'm not learning it to be smarter than you. I'm not learning it to get a better job. I'm not learning it for some external goal. But this Torah lishma, for the love of learning itself.
Okay, and that love of learning enhances who you are.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And so the fact that it has a byproduct, we don't have control over that. We don't have so much control over that. What I get from this learning, from this teaching, is that to dive in, to lean into that desire to see what is actually here, what's in the text, what can the text illuminate for me today?
Okay, so that's sort of you're right, it's a really refined perspective on it, because there is a result, but not a result necessarily that's got like strings attached to it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Julie Cole. Hi,
Hey,
Julie.
so love the teaching today, Julie Newman. And I think it kind of relates to the question that Mona was just asking. I found it very challenging to bring beginner's mind to what I was doing. Just even on the mat, much less in my life. So that whole idea of having expectations, like, oh, I've done tree before, this is how it goes, moving right ahead, oh, this is what's going to come next. I mean, it was just amazing how terrible I was at bringing beginner's mind.
But look what a strong lesson it was for you. You did notice, and it doesn't have to be, when we do the judgmental thing on ourselves, we're actually not making more room for learning. But it's like, wow, that was a great thing today that I understood. It's like, I'm kind of making my, I potentially could be making my learning rote. I'm just going to use this reminder, and hopefully this is just a reminder like, oh, can I come to it fresh? Like, and the subtle moving of weight between one hand and another, and can I lift that leg? Can I not lift that leg? Of just noticing that subtle working. So you did it. You did the whole thing, Julie. You did it. Donna?
Hi. My question is actually about the last 2 weeks. First, I want to comment that I really have been trying to think less. What can I do less for my fun? And it's something that stays with me. And then my question from last week is about a phrase. I can't remember your exact words, but it was like feeling heavy into the wobbles. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah. Okay. So today when we did the tree pose, when we feel like, oh, that standing leg is starting to wobble, one response, and not an unusual, really common response, is to just fall over or just to not do it, to do something else. The leaning into the wobble, what I mean is to both get your weight, like don't run away from it, go into it, have your awareness go into it also. And with adding some weight to it, can I add stability that way? It's an experiment. You got to see if it works or if it doesn't work. And some days it will, some days it won't. But by adding weight, can I add stability? Am I shifting things in the way that allows me to stay there? And the answer might be no, but it might be yes. Does that help, Donna?
Thank you. It's something for me to think about. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Miriam, I can't hear you. You're muted.
My question is that I wonder if you can give it more than once a week, the yoga.
That is not up to me, but it's certainly a comment that I will pass along to the Institute for Jewish Spirituality.
That will be nice.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm looking in the chat for some questions. We have a couple more minutes here. Does beginner's mind work in, so this is Debbie's question, does beginner's mind work in approaching an interpersonal relationship that is experiencing tension? Yes. Short answer, yes. So when we say beginner's mind and this idea of, I don't know if you remember what happens after this. I didn't go into this, but at this moment, Abraham is sitting at the opening of his tent. This is the idea of being receptive. And the next thing that happens are these three strangers come, and who may be angels. They may be, influenced by the divine. We don't. But and they have really good news for him, and he's open to that. If he were in a different posture in the front of his tent, if he had his earbuds in and his hat pulled down, and he might have missed that entirely. The same thing in our relationships. I think. Am I receptive to something new happening? If the tension in a interpersonal relationship, if it's a tension that has history, something like this is the way this happens with us over and over, can I be receptive enough to what's going on to maybe make enough room for something different to happen? But the first key is, instead of me going to, oh, I know this is how it's going to go. I say that, they say this, and this thing's going to play itself out. Instead, can I be really curious instead of going into my habitual mode of answering. So that I think is my answer, Debbie. Shelley.
I just
Oh,
really
thank you
quickly, I
for
think this
taking my call.
might have to be our last question for today.
Thanks, Adi. Shelley.
I really appreciated the teaching and the practice today. And normally when I do yoga, I do not perspire, but I felt a lot of heat today. Is this type of, are these poses that you did, poses that create a lot of heat? Or I'm just curious about that because it made me warm.
Not intentionally, but I'm so glad you were warm because that fits with the teaching in the heat of the day. And the balancing, can be surprising how much work you're actually doing. And so, no, they're not particularly, but it might be that they are new to you. And because things that are new, we work harder at, we're more reactive to, so it just may have been for you today. So it's not the particular poses. It was not a particular intention to get you to sweat, but be curious about that. Yeah.
I also wanted to say your last comment about keeping an open mind to experiencing something different in a relationship. It's exactly what I needed to hear, because I had that kind of situation with a sister of mine who I always ask to come visit, and she always gives me a negative response, and I go into a whole story, and it really is damaging to me. So maybe just keeping a curiosity instead of a negative slant may help.
Yes. Just picture yourself at the opening of the tent, like what else is going on here? And it might be even just put a hand on your own heart when you feel your own response to it, and just like put the weight in the wobble there.
Okay.
If
Thank you.
don't, yeah.
If I don't,
Thank you all so much.
thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And next week, remember, you want to make sure you, and for after, if you're going to the meditation, the daily sit, you want to use today's link, and that will be starting in just a half an hour. So that's a wonderful follow-up to the work we just did. Thank you all so much for your presence and your great questions.